Yeah, we ended the Cold War. And really, PSR led that movement. And we educated 80% of Americans to understand that nuclear war was bad for their health. Because when I first came here, most people said, well, you know, it's better to be dead than red. 1978, I said, you'd rather be killed in a nuclear war? They said, yeah, we don't want to be communists. I mean, there was sort of a mass psychosis. I said, what about the pygmies in Africa? They'll be killed too. And they said, yeah, they need to be killed because they don't want to be communist. So we started doing the bombing run and describing the medical effects. And in 5 years, 80% of Americans opposed nuclear war. That was the second American Revolution, a la Jefferson. Some people are yawning, so I'm boring you. Don't yawn. What have I got to do? Do a strip? I know it's boring, but you've got to listen because it's the future of the planet. Am I too emotional? It's inappropriate to be unemotional about this, and if we're unemotional, we need psychiatric help. So we helped to bring the Cold War to an end, us. Then we got Clinton, who had no backbone. As one of our politicians would call him Mr. Jellyback or something. Anyway, he'd smoked some dope, he didn't inhale, he didn't go to Vietnam, he had no guts to take on the Pentagon. And here we were saying, we want you to abolish nuclear weapons. And we had Yeltsin over in the Kremlin, who was a hardened alcoholic, totally compliant. Clinton could have got in Air Force One, flown to the Kremlin and said, OK, Boris, sign this, in 5 years we're going to abolish nuclear weapons, which Reagan and Gorbachev almost did at Reykjavik. But he didn't. So if we're blown up tonight because the weapons are still on hair trigger alert, thousands of them in Russia and America, of the 23,000 H-bombs in the world, Russia and America own 97%. So who are the terrorists? New York is targeted with 40 H-bombs. McNamara and I wrote an article about that before he died. Washington's targeted with 60 H-bombs. Every town and city with a population of 50,000 or more is targeted like that now. Since the Cold War ended, America's targeted China in its wisdom. The whole of Europe's targeted. Russia, everything. And it only takes 1,000 bombs on 100 cities to create such a pall of black radioactive smoke that blocks out the sun for 10 years and causes a short ice age, and we all freeze to death in the dark. Now, how likely is it that these weapons will be launched? They're ready to go with the press of the button. Obama gets 3 minutes to decide, and so does Putin. And Yeltsin almost pressed the button. He got to within 10 seconds in 95 to pressing the button. 10 seconds. And they take 30 minutes to go from woe to go and vice versa. Do you know that there are 1,000 people hacking into the Pentagon computers per day? The Chinese, into the early warning system as well. And this is my nightmare, because I've just spoken to a very brilliant computer person. I said, why hasn't it happened yet? And he said, because it hasn't happened because they haven't worked it out yet. But you can imagine a brilliant 16-year-old boy, and I've got a grandson who's 16 who's just hit puberty. No frontal lobe development at all. You know, they sort of slope through the house. How are you? Good, you know. And you never know what they're going to do next. Totally unaccountable, but they're brilliant left brains. And you can imagine a 16-year-old kid, you can, anywhere in the world, hacking into the early warning system and for fun blowing up the world. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. And these goddamn weapons, sorry, but this is how I feel, are still on hair trigger alert and they won't remove them. I got enough money to get General Cartwright, who was the chief of staff, plus other Americans and the Russians at Pekantigo in the Rockefeller estate to have a weekend together with no press to talk about why they're deciding to blow up the world if necessary. For no reason, because the Russians are now friends. What is the pathology in these men's brains? Why do they want to do it? Why did I call my book Missile Envy, a la Freud? It goes back to that. And if you look at the language that the Pentagon uses, missile erectors, soft laydowns, deep penetration, hard lines and soft, I mean, it's all sexual, all sexual. You know, when a man designs a bomb from Los Alamos, he sleeps with the bomb in the desert the night before it's exploded. He talks about having labour pains. I kid you not, this work's been done by Hugh Gustus, an anthropologist, having labour pains and the need to push. And when the bomb explodes, he talks about postnatal depression. This is etiology. And also you need to know that 1 in 25 people are sociopaths, who are brilliant, charming, erudite people with no moral conscience. And you've all known people like that. You know, one such is Rumsfeld and one is Cheney, who's just got a new heart. And these are the people that rise to the top like cream at Harvard, in corporations, and because they're quite, you know, they're driven, whereas ordinary people who are quite sane aren't driven, and they're the ones who run the world. So what are we going to do? Oh, well, what about North Korea? Ooh. Ooh, what about Iran? Ooh. It's only America and Russia that can blow up the planet. And then there's Israel, the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world, and she will neither confirm nor deny she has nuclear weapons. How dare she? And she hasn't signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty. How dare she? And she's worried about Iran, and your 16 intelligence agencies say there's no evidence that Iran is building nuclear weapons, or has any. None. So let's end with a PSR study done a few years ago where they dropped 3 nuclear weapons on the 2 uranium enrichment facilities in Isfahan and Natanz, and I've been to both places. Because you can't do it with a bunker buster because these facilities are buried so deep. So you drop 3 weapons on each of them. The resulting fallout from the uranium, huge amounts, and the nuclear weapons would kill in the first 48 hours 2.6 million people, all the way over to Afghanistan, the poorest country on earth, India and Pakistan. Does anyone ever talk about people dying when they talk about whether or not Iran should be bombed? And why? And you know, this is our area again, people dying. This is obscene.